Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. I have with me someone who I've always wanted to talk to, and I have known for a long time, but I've never had a chance to have a good conversation with. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wendy Beach. Wendy, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate that. Listen, let's get down to this because I've got so many questions, and I know you have answers. So let's see if we can figure some of this
I'll
stuff
try.
out.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you're originally from the Detroit area, right? So
That's right.
I mean, Detroit's a big city. Where exactly in Detroit are you from?
I am from Dearborn originally.
Okay.
That's just west of Detroit, right
Okay,
next door.
so it's a suburb of Detroit then.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And were you born and raised there, or did your
No, I
parents
was
move there
born
when
in
you were?
Denver. I was
Oh,
born in Denver, and then we lived there for I think about 3 years. I think we moved when I was 3 or 4, something like that. We moved to maybe even Indiana, and then to Michigan.
okay.
My parents are both from Michigan, and those people all, the grandparents and stuff like that had lived there for a long time. So those
Okay.
ancestor types.
Okay. So did you grow up in a musical family, or were you kind of just like the outlier that did play?
I'm the outlier in a sense, except for that my parents um, would sing. We would all sing, and we sang in church, and we did that kind of thing. But we'd be going, to the A&W root beer stand and stuff, and my mom and dad would sing songs in the car, and I remember thinking it was really cool because they would sing harmony with each other.
So that's what kind of got you started in music then, was to hearing your parents sing. But now, when you were growing up, were you just singing? I mean, I know we all know you play bass.
Mhm.
Did you play any other instruments when you were growing up, or was it just bass?
I did. My dad got a guitar for an acoustic guitar for a birthday or something like that. So I started teaching myself how to play the guitar in like fifth grade or something like that. And I, sat up in the bedroom and learned G, C, and D, and and A, and E minor, A minor. Those kind. And F was really hard because it's a bar chord. I
Right.
remember.
So
So yeah.
wait. So what got you started on playing bass? When did you start playing bass then?
It was like how some people do that sort of thing, is that playing, um, or somebody wanted me to be in the band, but we need a bass player, we don't need an acoustic guitar player or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't know how to play the bass. Yeah, but you're married to John Gagan. He's a bass player. He can show you what to do.
Oh
And so
no.
it was one of those. So I started playing bass, and yeah, that's how it was.
Okay, so in high school, were you part of any of the music programs? Did you do choir, or
I
were any of those
did,
other
yeah.
things? Okay.
Sang choir in church and sang choir in high school. And we had a little trio in high school that we just an a cappella trio, and it was really fun. There were I and Lila Eastman and Steve Mebbs, and we did madrigals, and we did Dan Hicks and his hot licks, and we
No,
did, not that we ever got paid or anything, but we
no,
just
but you got to,
enjoyed
but
it.
you played and you had fun, and that's what music is
That's
supposed to
right.
be. Music is supposed to be fun. So, so,
Mhm.
so when you went, okay, so let me go back. So, what high school did you graduate from in Dearborn?
I graduated from Edsel Ford.
Okay, I won't ask what year because that's none of our business. But so you graduated from high school. So where did you go from there? Did you attend college somewhere? Did
I
you?
went to Henry Ford Community College for a year or something like that, or maybe it was 2 years. And then I decided I was going to go to Europe and travel. And so I hitchhiked and, had met friends and stuff, and just did that kind of thing for about a year. And then I came back, and then I went out to Montana because I had friends who lived in Missoula. And so then I lived in Missoula for maybe 5 years or something. And then I moved to Cerrillos.
New
So
Mexico.
yeah,
Oh my
from
goodness. Okay, so
Missoula.
we'll get to that part here in just a little bit because I want to know, I want to hear that story. So you didn't really go to college, but you were still doing music. What was your main, did you have a main profession at this particular time, or was it kind of like a catch as catch can kind of thing?
Well, when I went to Europe, I bought a mandolin when I was there. So I started playing with a guy from Australia who played guitar. I guess we'd kind of traded off because he played mandolin also. And I played the penny whistle, and we would busk, on the street and stuff in Edinburgh, Scotland. And we lived in a flat, I and this guy's name was Peter. And then I think it was Edward was the name of this English guy that, this kind of posh English guy who is a poet. And he was young. And the three of us lived in this one room flat in Edinburgh. And so that was what I was doing then, I guess, and as a profession.
Well, you had to
Busking.
look at that. You made money as a musician. That's all that matters, right?
Right, yeah, right. And when I
So,
went to Missoula, when I came back and I went to Missoula, I started playing guitar and mandolin with some people,
so you've
and
basically been a
yeah.
musician all your life, huh?
Well, kind of, not that I was making a lot of money or anything,
Yeah, but you've
but
been a musician. You play guitar, you played you learned how to play mandolin, you play bass, obviously. We know you as a bass player, or at least I know
right,
you as a bass player, and I know you as a
yeah,
singer.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious, what were some of your musical influences then in your youth days? Because we both know neither one of us are young. So in your youth days, what were some of your influences music wise?
So in Michigan, in Detroit, we grew up with Motown, and that was exactly the kind of stuff like Aretha Franklin, all the Motown stuff,
Hmm.
Stevie Wonder, all of that music was very influential, and that's what everybody listened to on the
Okay.
radio and the
So,
records and stuff.
so did you listen to any kind of jazz or anything when you were young, or that wasn't until later in life?
Probably not until I got older. I mean, my mom and dad, they liked to listen to music, and they did listen. They had the stereo, and so they would play stuff. And I'm trying to remember. I mean, every Christmas, of course, we would be sitting there putting puzzles together with my dad, and we'd have the Messiah, Handel's Messiah was
Hmm.
on, and we'd kind of sing along and stuff. But they would play stuff like um, Tijuana Brass, and I'm trying to remember who else that kind of fits that. Sergio Mendes.
Hmm.
They, for some reason, they listened to a few things like that,
Okay.
and yeah,
Okay, so a lot of Motown, a lot of 1960s good R&B and funk and that kind of stuff. And that's always I love that stuff. I'm sorry,
yeah,
but I'm a big jazzer at heart, but I love Motown. I love
yeah,
all the stuff that came out of that era, especially the horn section work. That was always amazing. I love that stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so I read somewhere that you
Mhm.
were a featured vocalist with the Nelson Riddle Orchestra. So you got to tell me more about this one. How did that come about? When was
I know,
this?
really, huh? So this was when I was, I don't remember when. It might have been it was sometime in the early 90s, I suspect, that I only did two gigs
Okay.
with them. And that was because they had called the university, I think, to find out, okay, we have these gigs in Farmington was one place, and there was somewhere else too, and they were looking for horn players, but they also said, and by the way, we could use a singer. And so then I got the gig.
So you were able to sing with the Nelson Riddle Orchestra, who, if people aren't familiar with that band was like the jazz orchestra that backed up everybody, along with Basie, you know, and Ellington. They backed up all the featured vocalists. If I remember correctly, they backed up Frank Sinatra. They
That's
backed
right.
up Doris Day. I mean, all these famous people got to sing with that orchestra. So that's
Yeah.
cool that you got to do that.
Yeah,
And
it
that
was
was,
really nice.
yeah, that was that sounds like it was fun. So let's get back to the original question. Why New Mexico? What brought you to when did you get to New Mexico? I have a rough estimate. And why New Mexico? Why did you end up in Cerrillos, New Mexico?
So it was about 1980, 81, something like that. And Eliza Gilkison, who was Lisa at that point, was a friend of this guy that I had been living with. And his name was Randy Rand, and he was an engineer. He was actually the first engineer who had a 4-track recording studio in New York City. The first, I mean, it wasn't he had it, but he was the engineer, and I don't remember exactly which studio that was, but the first, 4-track studio. And anyway, and so Lisa or Eliza had, she was with Baird Banner at the time, and Baird has a studio in Cerrillos, Clujet Sound. They still have that studio.
Mm-hmm.
He still has a studio with Busy McCarroll, his wife. And anyway, and Eliza wanted Randy to come down and record an album. And so we came down and then decided to just move here. And so
that was it. You just decided to stay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we went back to Missoula for a little while and loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly.
Or Cerrillos, New Mexico in this case.
Right.
So that's just funny that it was that you were just like, okay, that's it. Let's just go. That's really what it was.
Well, I mean, we were young, you know, and so, yeah.
Oh, I think that's funny as heck. So you live in Albuquerque now, but
that's right.
So you ended up doing what? Did you end up staying in Cerrillos for a while, or when did you move to Albuquerque area?
Yeah, lived in Cerrillos and Madrid and Santa Fe and Albuquerque, kind of like on and off Santa Fe, Albuquerque. And yeah, and that's, you know, that was, I mean, I've lived in Albuquerque for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Know? But yeah, lived in all those places. I lived in the old schoolhouse in Madrid. And
really?
Yeah, after moving out of living in Cerrillos, so Baird has a compound there where the studio is, but it also has these small houses or whatever, you know, adobe, just rooms kind of thing. And well, only one of them, I think, and we lived in that. But then we decided we should move to Madrid, I remember, and that we moved into that used to be the schoolhouse. And it was right when whoever it was purchased it. He was an artist and he was starting to fix it up. So he was starting to change it from the schoolhouse. And so we lived in one of the school rooms, and, you know, the blackboard was all across the front of the room. And it was really pretty interesting, pretty fun.
That sounds like it would be very interesting. And Madrid is such a collection of eclectic artists and musicians and people who are just trying to take that time away and sometimes just find themselves, you know. I mean, I like Madrid. I remember Madrid we used to have the New Mexico Jazz Workshop concerts up there, the blues concerts and the jazz concerts at the ballpark. And
this school is right next door.
Yep, right.
That was the place. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. And then we used to have up there, they used to have a big biker bar up there. I don't remember what it was.
You're probably thinking of in Golden, right? The Golden Inn.
Oh, yes, the Golden Inn, because Golden's right there. Right. And then
down the street.
There used to be a bar up there. I can't remember the name of it that used to do jazz. I remember going up there and watching my brother play with Phil Arnold and all those guys, and I can't think of which one it is. Oh, it
In
doesn't really matter.
Madrid?
It was in Madrid.
Yeah, so maybe the Madrid, I mean, this, whatever it's called, it's still there right now, right around the corner, right
Yes.
sitting in the corner.
Yeah, they used to do stuff up there, and they used to do stuff at
Yeah.
Golden and stuff like that. I remember that. That was always kind of fun.
And
Madrid's a
did they
unique
play
town.
with Pete? Pete them
Yes.
all? Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yeah, they used to do all those gigs in me. I'm younger than my brother. My brother was just a kid at the time. I need to ask Phil Arnold what exactly, because it's been a while since I asked
Mine
him.
Shaft, the Mine
The
Shaft
mine there,
Tavern.
the
Yeah,
Mine Shaft Tavern. That was it.
that's
Yep.
right. Yeah.
Um, so you have a very diverse musical legacy here in New Mexico, because we've talked about this. You said you grew up listening to R&B. I hear you play jazz. I hear you sing jazz very well. Heard you play blues and funk, and you name it. You play just about everything. And I know you're primarily a bass player and a vocalist, and I know, like you said, you play other instruments. But what's your favorite, like right now? What's your favorite genre to play in? Do you have a particular favorite genre to play in now?
Yeah, that genre is the one that has the good players. It kind of doesn't really matter. That's
I see it. I thought you were going to say something to the likes of the one that pays me the most, but
Yeah, no, it's really about the players. You know how it is. After a certain age, you're like, I just want to play with I want to make good music and play with some people that I like that can play that, where we can just enjoy life.
when you're working with musicians, and musicians you respect, they bring out the best in you. And it's
Yeah.
a shared thing, because, you're helping them, they're helping you. And so, but you really don't have a preferred genre. You just like to play everything then.
I've done so many different kinds of gigs. I've I had played a really good in a really good bluegrass band when I lived in Santa Fe. And I just recently I've been connecting again with the guy who played mandolin, who also plays guitar. He's an artist too, Jerry Laribus. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jerry Laribus, but anyway, and I was playing a lot this spring with a funk band, which is really fun because that was a big challenge for me. And the drummer Waldo Latowski, it's like, holy crap, how lucky can I be that I have to like play with these people and try and be serious.
Well, and
So,
I've heard
yeah.
you do small group jazz. You've done some gigs at Teddy Rose where it's just like
Yeah,
two, like a vocalist and a keyboardist, and and add a saxophone in. Or I've
right,
heard you sit in with a jazz trio down at Q Bar. I mean, so
right, that's
it's
right.
not, you're a very versatile kind of person. I mean, you've done everything. We talked not too long ago, and if I remember correctly, didn't you do some work? I know you didn't do a lot of work, but didn't you do some work with Cadillac Bob and the Rhinestones all those years ago?
I only played bass for them on occasion, like very, very occasionally, for some reason when John, the bass player, couldn't make it. But and then I think I may have sung or something with them once when one of the Rhinestones for some reason couldn't make it. Maybe something like that. They
Right.
usually would get Ron Lipton to fill in
Right, but
for the
still, you
singing
got to.
part.
I mean, that was a mainstay back in the '80s. I mean, they
Yeah.
they were they were a big, gigantic group, and they always had the best musicians. But it just shows how diverse your musical background is, and all the diverse things that you can do. We were talking before we just started, and you were talking about doing, a Latin gig, and you were
And you said
telling
you
me.
remembered that name, the name of that
Yeah,
band.
yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like, okay, here you're doing R&B, you're doing funk, you're doing jazz, you're doing Latin, you're doing just about everything.
Yeah.
Lounge singing to straight up, because I don't know if you did it this year or not, but you've done the Women in Blues thing for the Jazz
Right. Yeah. Lady
Workshop, right?
Sings the Blues. I
Yeah.
didn't do it this year, but I have done it many different
Huh?
years. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
it last year, I'm sure. And yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So what we've talked to kind of touched it briefly, but you've played in, like, give me an idea. We talked about, like, you've subbed for some bands, but give me some names of some bands that you have performed in, like, on a regular basis.
Well, that's always a question. I I used to have a band called Insomniacs up in Santa Fe, and that was with like Kanoa, Kaliva. You would know Kanoa.
I know Kanoa.
Yeah, Kanoa and Arnold Bodmer. And this is a really long time ago. And Skip Wiggins, who hasn't lived here for a very long time. He was a really good songwriter. And John Gagan played the bass. That was another one of those where, well, we don't have, I mean, Arnold was playing, but let's get Wendy, why don't you play the piano also? It's like, I don't play the piano. I'll play the, whatever, the string parts. Okay, I can do that. You know what I mean? And then I'm trying to remember who else was in that band. It was probably Mark Clark or something like that.
Okay.
Then, and then, played with, did a lot of jazz with John Gagan and Louis Wynn. And Cal Haynes was the drummer quite often. And
Well, didn't you play with Straight Up with John Trentacosta? Weren't you the bass player for them for the longest time?
That's right. No, not the bass player. No, because those guys they're like, they had John Bell's a guy played a lot, who lives in Las Vegas now. But it was with Bob Fox and John Bell's a guy and John Trentacosta, and I sang.
Oh,
and then
okay.
And then it changed to, and we did an album, and then it became Bert, because Bob had a regular gig up in Santa Fe. And so then we played with Bert and Belzeguy and John Trentacosta. And that was a great band, actually. That Straight Up, that was where I really was forced to open my ears. And there, even before that, I had played a gig when I was first here. I ended up playing with Bruce Dunlap. You know Bruce Dunlap?
Yeah, I remember Bruce. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bruce, he still is up in Santa Fe, and Bruce and Kanoa might even have been in that band, and like serious, jazz musicians, and I was the singer. And I can remember at one point Bruce was saying something like, because songs that I might be bringing in to play, and Bruce was saying, maybe we can get away from the pentatonic scale stuff. And I'm like, I'm probably in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't even know what that means, because this is such a long time ago. And it was, and I was embarrassed, probably as all get out, because even back then Bruce was really serious, so a serious player. So yeah.
Well, so what other groups so we've talked about Straight Up. What other groups have you been involved with that you've done all these things with? Besides, I mean, because you really are what I call, you're going to laugh, but you're what I really call a freelance musician. Okay. You play with everybody and you do anything. And it's a matter of, do I like the project? Is it going to be fun? Okay, sure. I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have tried not to limit what I do, and especially in the old days. I mean, you could stay working and make decent money in the old days playing, and so I did, and yeah, you just take whatever the gigs are that come up, and usually I'm one where, sure, I'll do that first gig, and then if I don't like it too much, then I won't do it next time. Like, yeah, if they call me again, maybe not.
Try anything once, maybe twice if you like it, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk.
But I do like singing, and I do like singing. I like to do concerts of my own. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you did a big one in the Outpost not too long ago, where it was your group performing and you were the featured vocalist.
That's right. And
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
really fun. Great musicians, great band. We had played with that band with a different different drummer, Donald Bailey Jr., whose dad used to play with Carmen McRae for a long time. Anyway, he was playing when we did. Somebody called me if I would do the governor's inaugural ball, in
oh
January,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was like, oh yeah, this is great. And we did it, and then we should try and get something at the Outpost or whatever. Let's work on it some more. And so we did, but then Donald couldn't play, so couldn't do the gig, couldn't do it. And so we got Arnaldo, which is Arnaldo Acosta, which is
Acosta.
really good. Yeah. And that was really fun. John Funkhauser is so good. And
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
all those
All the
guys are
musicians
great.
on that gig were absolutely amazing. They were, I mean, it was
Yeah.
a good concert. I have to admit,
Yeah.
it was a really, really good
Thanks.
concert.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
so you have performed, so you've been on a number of recordings. We talked about your one with Straight Up. What other recordings have you been involved with? We're going to talk about your solo CD here in a minute, but what other recordings have you been involved with that you can mention?
It's funny you should ask because I'm going like, I don't know, I've sung harmonies on lots of things, but I don't necessarily remember them because obviously they haven't been. I mean, even recently I've done stuff for people's things that I don't really know them. And so I just go into the studio and okay, here's the part. Like I did something in Santa Fe where I had to sing in Spanish, sing harmonies in Spanish. And I don't really speak Spanish, although I have taken Spanish, classes before. And so I kind of know how to make it sound. And since I was singing harmony, I would try and just like you would do if you were playing horn
Yeah.
parts and overdubbing it, where you just have to match what they're doing. Well, it's the same thing. You want to match their vowel sounds and
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So, but I couldn't remember the name of the guy.
You've
I mean,
done that many recordings that you can't remember all the
no,
places
I
you
just
recorded.
don't, I'm just busy and that's, I just go in and I'm like, this is really fun. I'm really digging this. And then I
And then it's
go
over.
on to the next thing.
And then it's over. So let's talk
Yeah.
about your solo CD. It's called the Martini Sessions, right?
Uh-huh.
When
Uh-huh.
was that recorded?
That was recorded. It took a long time to do that. And that was because I wasn't coming up with any money. And Phil Applebaum, the producer, he was just wanted to do it so much. And he'd never done anything like that. And so we just took our time recording it. And I don't remember even when we started, but it might have been it was probably in the like 2007 or 8 or something like that. And maybe then we finished in the early teens,
Okay.
2000 teens. Honestly, I just don't remember. It could have been even way before that I mean, I could look at it. I have to go find a
No, it's
CD.
fine. So when was it finally released?
Um, well, that was one of those trickle out, hey, you guys want one? Because
So it
I
really wasn't
wasn't
released. You
playing
just
much.
made
I wasn't playing much. I'm really pretty bad about, I was at that time I was married and had a solar company. My ex-husband and I had a solar company and it was seriously a lot of work and, all day, every day and up till 10 at night and that kind of thing, working on that and stuff. So I wasn't playing much. So I just had, it finally got mixed and mastered but it was like, yay, cool, there it is, but I didn't really have any gigs to feel like I wanted to go take it out because I wasn't playing. I mean, I was still playing, but I wasn't focusing, so I wasn't practicing, and you know how that goes. I mean, sure, I
yeah.
can go out there, I'll lean on the licks that I use and the whatever it is, but there's no range, there's no, that kind
Uh,
of stuff. So
okay. Is it available at all for sale or for listening on any of the streaming services? Because it's called the
that's
Martini Sessions, right?
yes, that's right. I think it may be still on Amazon. Phil passed away a couple years ago now, and And so, and I know he had it on Amazon, and I don't know where else he put it. And it was on his website. And I mean, you can get it from me. I have some. I have copies.
Okay, fine. The next time I see you, I'll ask for one. So
Okay.
because yeah, I was gonna put a link down below to see if anybody was interested in buying it. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll see if I can get a link for it because I like your work. I like the stuff you do. I like the stuff I've seen of you on YouTube, and I've seen you
Thanks.
I've seen you my fair share of times, at venues and with the ladies sings the blues. So I'm like, well, why don't you have more out? Because recording is expensive. I know that it's expensive to record. It's expensive to produce. It's expensive to mix. It's expensive to finally get a physical copy. That's why most people don't even do that anymore. They put it up on streaming services. Look at Ryan Montano. He's a perfect example. He doesn't release
Yeah.
albums. He releases one song at a time. He
Right.
promotes the song. He puts it on streaming services. People download it or they stream it through Spotify, and then he moves on. And when he
That's
eventually
right.
has 7 or 8 songs, he puts it on a CD, but he makes that whole CD, but he's not selling physical copies that I'm aware of. Everything's streaming services.
Yes, that's right. It has changed so much,
Yeah,
the way
yeah.
that music is available.
Or
This is
consumed.
what's that?
It's changed even the way we consume it as
Right.
consumers.
Yes,
It's
that's
not like, I
right.
mean, look, when we were both kids, would go out, would buy an album, and then the
Right.
albums turned into cassettes, then the cassettes turned into CDs. How many, I mean, do you still have a CD player at home?
I do, but that's because a friend of mine gave me, Chuck Lucero, the drummer?
Yes, yeah.
So Chuck gave me, he's like, you got to listen to these CDs of this band that he used to be in a long time ago. And they did some really cool material. And I'm like, well, I don't have a CD player. And he goes, I'll give you one. And so he gave me a CD player. We're talking in the last 6 months probably. And so now I do have a CD player. And then this other friend of mine has a record player, and he brought some records over the other day that somebody had just given him, and he didn't want to leave them in the car. And he's like, do you have a record player? And no, I don't have a record player. I kept thinking when I moved into this house that I'd get one, but I just still haven't. That's all.
No. See, the only way I listen to CDs, because people have sent me CDs, the only way I listen to CDs is through my computer anymore.
That's
I
right.
just put
That's
it in the
right.
disk drive because I still have a disk drive in I still have a disk drive in my computer. That's the only way I can listen to
That's
CDs.
good.
Everything else I
Yeah.
have is streaming because that's how we consume
Yeah.
media.
And that's how they control the money,
Oh,
the
I
people
know.
who are in charge of all that. And so the musicians are, I mean, people are starting to react to that more.
Right.
Um, and rightfully so, boy.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh, no, they
painful.
have right for, like I said, I don't own a CD player. I use my computer. I stream everything because I got rid of all that stuff. And when I was like, I needed to empty my house. So I got rid of all that stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something. Let me ask you this question. So, can you tell us something about yourself that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Ooh, that they would be surprised to learn about me. Does it have to be interesting?
It could be
I'm like
anything.
thinking, I don't know,
Well, I remember you mentioned once that you were trying to build a house in Detroit, or
Oh,
or
yes. And
or
that's
is
wrapping
there
up. Yeah.
or I was surprised to learn that you hitchhiked across Europe for a year. So see, that was something I learned about you.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
do you have something that you can share with everybody that they would be surprised to learn about you?
I have a swimming pool in my backyard that has been out of commission for the last month, and they just fixed it. Finally finished it today. That's kind of odd,
No, it's
unusual.
not. People own swimming pools. This isn't Phoenix where everybody owns one, but
Yeah.
many people own one. So no, come on,
Okay.
something unique about
Something
yourself.
something unique about me that golly. Um
I'll
I
take
I
that as a no.
I know. I'm thinking like I like plants. I have
Oh,
lots of plants in my house. I'm looking at
See?
some plants over here. I have a lot of plants. I like to garden, and I have a garden. The garden is
See.
not doing well. It was so darn hot.
That's something unique to know about you, is that you like to garden and you have lots of
Yeah.
houseplants. What about something musical? So let me ask the last question. I'll ask the last question now. We'll see if we get a good response from you.
Okay.
So, strangest gig or funniest story of a gig or something that happened to you that you can tell us about.
When you had mentioned that before we started this, the thing that popped into my mind, which is funny because you know how, I mean, musicians talk about, we all have our stories that are so fun. But this particular one was the time that I played at the base, at the Air Force Base here. I mean, I played gigs there quite often, but this one was like a specialty day or something like that. And we played in the, what's it called? The PX or the BX or whatever, the store.
Yeah.
And we were playing, we were playing in the jeans section of the store where they were selling jeans. And we had to set up in the, you know, in between these jeans and these other jeans and those jeans. And so we were kind of, it was just pretty fun.
So you got to literally set up in the shopping area
in the
of
shopping
the PX
area
at Kirtland Air Force Base.
That's right. And we also, I remember too, thinking of that, we played in the library. I don't even remember who these bands were with or whatever, but I remember playing in a library, and I think it might have been in Santa Fe, but playing in a library also, the same kind of thing, in between the books.
In between the stacks. I've done that before.
Have you really? Yeah.
Yeah, I have done that before, where you play and you kind of set up in between the stacks and you're all squished and the drummer was taking up a whole aisle. I've done that. We did a gig a long time ago where we were playing and we were the featured group in the middle of Windrock Mall.
Right. Okay. Now those are, yes, we know those. And you really can't hear the other players because it's so much reverberation. And yeah, right. That's funny.
Oh, that's too funny. All right. Well, we're out of time. I want to thank Wendy for joining me today. I have learned so much about you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. Don't stop what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing because we all love it. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.